April 26, 1956, Port Newark, New Jersey. A man stands on the dock, staring at a rusted World War II oil tanker. Rain is falling. The unions are laughing at him. The banks think he's insane. He has mortgaged everything he owns for this moment. His entire fortune, his reputation, his future. All riding on this ancient ship that looks like it should be scrapped for parts. The crowd gathers. Reporters, dock workers, shipping executives. They're here to watch him fail. Because what he's about to do makes no sense. He isn't loading cargo the way it's been done for 5,000 years. He isn't carrying sacks of grain or barrels of whiskey or crates of machinery. He's loading the trucks themselves. 58 metal boxes, trailer bodies ripped off their wheels, stacked on the deck of this tanker like some kind of industrial fever dream. The longshoremen watch in silence. They don't understand what they're seeing. They don't know they're watching the death of their jobs, the death of their union, the death of the entire system that's run global trade since the age of sailing ships. The man's name is Malcolm McLean. He's a truck driver from North Carolina. No college degree, no background in shipping, no connections to Wall Street or Washington, just a trucker with a grudge and an idea that won't leave him alone. If the ship sinks, he's ruined. If the boxes slide off in a storm, he's bankrupt. If the whole thing is just a fantasy, if he's as crazy as everyone says, then he's finished. But if it works, he won't just change shipping, he'll destroy New York City's dominance, hollow out Detroit, birth the Asian economic miracle, and build the foundation for modern China. He doesn't know that yet. He's just trying not to go broke. The crane lifts the first container, swings it over the water, lowers it onto the deck. The crowd holds its breath. It locks into place. Then the next one. Then the next. 8 hours later, the Idealex pulls away from the dock, and the world starts to die. Hoboken, New Jersey, 1937. 19 years earlier. A young man sits in his truck cab. His name is Malcolm McLean. He's 23 years old. He drives a truck for a living. Today, he's hauling cotton bales from North Carolina to New York Harbor. Simple job. Load the truck, drive north, unload at the docks, drive home. Should take a few hours. He's been sitting here for 8 hours. The sun is setting, he's sweating through his shirt. The meter is running, his workers are waiting, and he's losing money with every minute that passes. He watches the dock workers through his windshield. They're moving his cotton bales piece by piece from his truck to the ship. They lift each bale with a sling, hoist it with a crane, lower it into the hold. One bale at a time, slow, methodical, the same way it's been done for centuries. There are thousands of them, an army of men in caps and suspenders crawling over the docks like ants, carrying civilization on their backs. And they're stealing. Everyone knows it. A bottle of whiskey here, a carton of cigarettes there. The cargo just disappears into the chaos, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, because this is how the system works. This is how it's always worked. McLean stares at his trailer. The cotton is sitting right there, already loaded, already organized, ready to go, and these men are taking it apart, piece by piece, just so they can put it back together in the ship's hold. It's madness, it's waste, it's the entire global economy running on a system designed for the 19th century. And a thought hits him, a simple, obvious, ridiculous thought. Why am I taking the boxes out? Why not just put the whole trailer on the ship? He sits there in the heat, letting the idea turn over in his mind. You could just lift the whole truck body, put it on the ship, sail across the ocean, lift it off on the other side, attach it to another set of wheels, and drive away. No touching the cargo, no longshoremen, no theft, no waiting. It's so simple it feels stupid. He mentions it to a dock worker. The man laughs. Ships are for cargo, pal, not trucks. He mentions it to his boss. That's not how shipping works. He mentions it to a banker. You want to do what? So he shuts up. He swallows his anger. He goes back to driving trucks. But the idea doesn't leave him. It sits in the back of his head for 20 years. 20 years, while he builds a trucking empire, while he learns logistics and supply chains and the 1,000 little inefficiencies that plague American commerce, while he watches the dock workers get slower and more expensive and more powerful. The idea waits, and it grows. 1950s. The truck driver is now a businessman. McLean runs one of the largest trucking companies in America. He has money, he has influence, and he's still obsessed with that moment in Hoboken, sitting in his truck, watching time and money bleed away. He starts asking questions. What would it take to actually do this? What would it cost? Who would fight him? The answers are terrifying. First, the law. In America, trucking and shipping are separate industries, regulated separately, run by different people. If you own trucks, you can't own ships. The Interstate Commerce Commission exists specifically to prevent this. So McLean does something audacious. He sells his trucking company, the entire thing, everything he's built. He takes the money and buys a small shipping line. The regulators are furious, but he's tactically legal. Barely. Second, the ships. He can't afford new ones, so he buys old ones, war surplus. A World War II tanker called the Ideal X. It's a piece of junk, rusty, outdated, cheap. He hires engineers and tells them the plan. Rip out the oil tanks, reinforce the deck, turn this tanker into a platform for stacking metal boxes. The engineers think he's lost his mind, but they do it. And then the real problem emerges. How do you stack metal boxes on a ship? How do you keep them from sliding around in a storm? How do you lock them together so they don't fall into the ocean? This is the engineering nightmare no one has solved. McLean's team works for months. They design corner fittings. They design twist locks. 4 corners on every box. Insert the lock, twist, click. The box is locked to the one below it. Stack another box on top. Twist, click. Stack another. Twist, click. It looks simple. It looks boring. But it's the most important mechanism of the 20th century. Because this little piece of rotating metal is what allows you to stack containers 40 high without them collapsing. It's what makes container ships possible. It's what makes globalization possible. And the unions see it coming. The International Longshoremen Association knows exactly what McLean is building. A machine to replace them. For 100 years, dock workers have had power. They control the flow of goods. They can shut down a port with a strike. They have high wages, job security, political influence, and this trucker from North Carolina is about to make them obsolete. So they fight, they strike, they sabotage, they call him a job killer, they call him a corporate criminal. They're right, he is going to kill their jobs, tens of thousands of them. He knows it, they know it, but he doesn't stop. April 26, 1956, the Ideal X sails. 58 containers, 8 hours of loading time instead of 3 weeks. The cost per ton drops from $5.83 to 16 cents, 97% reduction. The ship arrives in Houston. The containers are intact. The system works. McLean has proven the concept, and the world doesn't care.
Because here's the thing, the container almost dies. For the next 10 years, McLean bleeds money. Shipping companies don't want to invest in new infrastructure. Ports aren't built for containers. Cranes aren't tall enough. Trucks aren't standardized. The entire global economy is built around break bulk shipping, and changing it requires billions of dollars that no one wants to spend. The unions keep fighting. The regulations keep changing. The banks get nervous. Sealand, McLean's company, is struggling. The Great Revolution is stalling. And then, the United States invades Vietnam. 1965. The American military has a problem. They're fighting a war 6,000 miles from home, 500,000 soldiers in the jungle. They need food, ammunition, medical supplies, fuel, equipment, replacement parts, thousands of tons every single day. And they're using break bulk shipping to get it there. Ships arrive at Vietnamese ports and sit for weeks. Cargo rots on the docks. Supplies are stolen by local workers, by corrupt officials, by Viet Cong infiltrators. Food spoils in the tropical heat. Ammunition gets wet. The American military is losing the war not because of enemy soldiers, but because they can't move boxes fast enough. Malcolm McLean walks into the Pentagon. He makes a pitch. Let me build a container port at Cam Ranh Bay. Let me ship your supplies in containers. I can cut your loading time from weeks to hours. I can eliminate theft. I can save you millions. The generals are skeptical, but they're desperate. The logistics situation in Vietnam is a catastrophe, so they give him the contract. 1,200 containers a month, fixed rates, guaranteed revenue. Suddenly, Sealand is making money, massive money. Between 1967 and 1973, the Vietnam operation generates $450 million. McLean's company is saved. Containerization is proven. The military starts converting its entire logistics system. And then McLean has another idea. The ships sail from California to Vietnam loaded with weapons and food. They deliver the cargo, they drop off the containers, and then they turn around and sail back to the United States, empty. Thousands of containers crossing the Pacific Ocean with nothing inside, just air. Wasted space, wasted fuel, wasted money. Every empty container is lost revenue. McLean stares at the shipping routes and sees the problem, and then he sees the solution. Japan. Stop in Japan on the way back. Fill the empty containers with Japanese goods. Sell them in America. So that's what he does. Sea-land ships stop in Tokyo, in Yokohama, in Osaka. They fill the containers with Sony radios, with Toyota cars, with cheap electronics, textiles, toys, everything Japanese factories are making for pennies. They sail them back to California. They unload them at American ports. The goods flood into American stores. Prices collapse. Americans buy Japanese products because they're cheap and well-made and suddenly everywhere. Japanese manufacturers see the opportunity. They start designing products specifically for export. They gear their entire economy toward filling American containers. And other countries notice. South Korea sees Japan getting rich. Taiwan sees it. Hong Kong sees it. They all start doing the same thing. This is the moment. This exact moment, this logistical hack, this simple decision to avoid sailing empty, this is when the Asian export economy is born. Not because of a trade agreement, not because economists planned it, not because governments negotiated it, because Malcolm McLean didn't want to waste fuel sailing home with empty boxes. The entire economic rise of Asia, the shift of manufacturing from west to east, the thing that defines the late 20th century and creates modern China, it starts here, with a trucker trying to save money on fuel.
And the world breaks apart. Factories in New York shut down. Why make garments in Manhattan when you can make them in Taiwan and ship them for 16 cents a ton? Factories in Detroit close. Why build radios in Michigan when Japanese radios cost half as much and the shipping is free? Factories in London close, in Hamburg, in Chicago, in every industrial city in the Western world. The jobs leave. The unions collapse. Entire neighborhoods that were built around manufacturing, that defined themselves by making things, they empty out. The docks go quiet. The longshoremen who fought McLean so hard, they were right. He killed their jobs, all of them. By the 1970s, most American ports have automated. Machines do the loading. Computers track the containers. The men who used to carry sacks of coffee on their backs, they're gone, obsolete. And the containers get bigger. The ships get bigger. The system scales in ways McLean never imagined. By the 1980s, ships are carrying 1,000 containers. By the 1990s, 5,000. By the 2000s, 15,000. The Emma Maersk, launched in 2006, is a floating city of steel. 15,000 containers stacked like Lego bricks, operated by a crew of 13. No longshoremen, no manual labor, just GPS, automation, and twist locks. The ship is so big it can't fit through the Panama Canal. It has to sail around Africa. And it's still profitable because the cost per container is so low that distance doesn't matter anymore. China sees this and builds its entire economic strategy around it. Shenzhen goes from a fishing village in 1980 to a megacity of 12 million in 2020, all because of containers. The Chinese government builds ports, subsidizes manufacturing, creates export zones, all designed to fill metal boxes and send them to America. The entire rise of China as a superpower, the entire story of globalization, runs on Malcolm McLean's invention. Your iPhone was assembled in Shenzhen, put in a container, loaded onto a ship, sailed across the Pacific, unloaded in Los Angeles, put on a truck, driven to a warehouse, and delivered to your door. That journey, which would have taken months and cost a fortune in 1950, now takes 2 weeks and costs almost nothing. Distance is dead. Geography is irrelevant. The factory can be anywhere. Right now, this very second, there are over 5,000 container ships moving across the ocean. There are over 20 million containers in circulation, stacked on ships, loaded on trains, rolling down highways, sitting in warehouses. They're carrying everything: your clothes, your food, your furniture, your electronics. Everything you own and everything you will ever buy came to you in a metal box, and you never think about it. The container is invisible. It's the most important object in the modern world, and you've never noticed it. But there's a cost. When COVID-19 hit in 2020, the global supply chain shattered. Ports backed up, containers got stuck in the wrong places, ships sat for weeks outside Los Angeles waiting to unload, shelves went empty, prices spiked, because the system McLean built is efficient, but it's also fragile. It's a just-in-time system with no slack, no redundancy, no backup plan. One bottleneck and the whole thing collapses, and the environmental damage is staggering. A single container ship emits as much sulfur dioxide as 50 million cars. The global fleet is an ecological nightmare. The box that connected the world also poisoned it. And the human cost. The dock workers were right. McLean destroyed their livelihoods. The factory workers were right. Globalization killed their jobs. The communities that built America's industrial economy, they were gutted. Whole cities turned into rust. And McLean knew. He knew exactly what he was doing. He just didn't care. Because he wasn't trying to save jobs or build communities or create a fair system. He was trying to stop waiting at a dock in Hoboken.
Malcolm McLean died on May 25, 2001. He was 87 years old. When his funeral procession passed through New York Harbor, the container ships blew their horns, a long, mournful sound echoing across the water. The man who hated waiting, who couldn't stand inefficiency, who bet everything on a simple idea, he finally stopped moving. And the world he built kept going, faster and faster. The containers never stop. Right now, they're sailing, loading, unloading, stacking, moving across oceans and continents and highways, bringing you everything, connecting you to factories you'll never see and workers you'll never meet, and a system so vast and complex that no one fully understands it anymore. He wasn't a visionary. He wasn't trying to change the world. He was just a truck driver from North Carolina who got tired of sitting in traffic. He wanted to save time. He wanted to save money. That's all. And instead, he accidentally killed distance, destroyed industries, birthed empires, and redesigned human civilization. The most boring object imaginable, a metal box, 8 feet wide, 8.5 feet tall, 40 feet long. It ate the world. And the man who built it died never fully understanding what he'd done. The invisible thing is the most powerful, and the man who couldn't stop waiting built a machine that will never stop moving.